Joining me this morning to talk more about this most recent case of an American detained in Russia is the brother of Paul Whelan, David Whelan. David, as always, thank you for giving us some of your time. You told my colleague Chris Cuomo this week that the arrest of Evan Gershkovich has rattled you. Explain why.
Well, I think when Paul learned about it, he was obviously concerned. He has been left behind twice now when the U.S. government has made concessions to the Russian government, and he wasn't part of it. So I think that he is doing his best to survive day to day, and this unsettles him because, I mean, he's essentially concerned that he's going to be asked to continue to try to survive for a lot longer.
So essentially, it knocks him down on the priority list. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Well, that's what's concerning to us. We've heard the White House and the State Department say that Paul's case is a top priority, and they also say that they don't prioritize one wrongful detention case against another. So that means all wrongful detention cases are the top priority. But at some point, they've got to make choices about what concessions they give to the Russian government or to other governments, and how they deal with the resources that they have to apply to these cases. And they've shown twice now that they have used those resources not to bring Paul home. And so I think his concern and our family's concern is that they will do that again.
How much contact do you have with the State Department since Evan's arrest?
It was pretty regular. I think we've decided that we've sort of run to the end of our road of patience with them. It takes family resources to meet with them, time away from my sister's work in order to have those sorts of conversations. And until they have something concrete or some creative strategies to actually bring Paul home, I think we're going to put a pause on that.
Are you hearing anything about a possible swap and who that may be?
No, Secretary Blinken has said that there's a significant offer out there to the Kremlin, but that is what he's been saying for the last 4 months. At some point, I think that we need to see some escalation of pressure or additional concessions made to bring Paul home. If he really is a top priority, then I think that Secretary Blinken, who recently said that they would increase pressure and increase penalties, should do so and stop talking about it.
So I can sense frustration. Do you feel that they're just words, that there is not a lot of weight in what they're saying in Paul's case? I mean, it's been since 2018 that you've been fighting this fight.
Yes, I think we've heard enough words now, and we've heard the same words over and over again. And at some point you want to be a partner, you want to be helpful, you want to be patient for the experts who are supposed to be doing this. But, we realize that we are back in a situation we've been in 2-3 times now. The Trump administration rejected an offer to bring Paul home. The Biden administration has, made concessions in 2 other cases and left Paul behind. It's very frustrating.
I wonder, and you can give me some clarification, you watched the return of Brittany Griner, and there were a lot of people making forceful comments to get her home. You guys have been very patient, and you've also been very nice, your family, in working with the State Department. In reciprocation, the State Department made you aware of the Griner situation. Do you feel as though it's time to put your foot down a little bit more to demand action, and that if there is a swap, that your brother is part of it? Is that why I'm sensing a change in your tone? You and I have spoken a number of times.
Yes, I don't know that I would say that we have to put our foot down. It's not really our decision to make. The U.S. government has to act in its best interests, and we understand that. But at the same time, every family of a wrongful detainee, whether they're in Russia or China or Iran or wherever, is spending resources to try to get the U.S. government's attention, to get them to work on these cases. And I think we've gotten to the point where we aren't seeing any action. We're not seeing any movement by the government. We aren't seeing those creative strategies that they said that they would be working on last December. I think we've really reached the point where we're not in a position to continue to have that sort of relationship with the U.S. government if they're not going to actually move forward, if it's just going to be more and more words month after month.
Yeah, understood. I hear you. What advice would you give to the family of Evan Gershkovich right now, having been through what you and your family continue to face?
I think maintain hope, be as patient as you can, but perhaps also look for any opportunities. I think, unfortunately, Russia has a playbook for how this is going to turn out, and there's not really a way to undo that. As you mentioned, the deputy foreign minister said that they won't be interested in discussing an exchange for Mr. Gershkovich until after his trial. So that may mean months or a year or more for him to have to sit and for his family to be patient. So I hope that they have the ability to do that.
David, Paul was able to call home recently. What was the nature of that phone call, and who did he speak with?
He is usually speaking to our parents, and he spoke to them that day. He had been out of communication for almost 2 weeks. The prison said that the phones were broken for almost 2 weeks, which seems both plausible in Russia, but also suspicious. And so he let us know that he was actually fine. We were very concerned whenever he's out of contact because he might be going into solitary confinement or something else. So it was good news. He's doing the best he can, but I think he's very rattled about this latest development.
Is he pretty guarded in what he's able to say as well?
Yes, there's often a prison guard over his shoulder, sometimes recording the calls for translation by the state security services. So he is careful, and our parents are careful too. We have certain code words that we use if we need to get information across, but for the most part, it just tends to be an open conversation, and Paul can tell us what he's able to, and we communicate as much as we can back.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.